Greetings and welcome to the Getting Started in Chemistry with Dr. Russell video. Woohoo! And I'm glad to have you here. My name's Dr. Michael Russell. I teach chemistry at Mount Hood Community College in Gresham, Oregon, USA. And I made this video to try and help people that are in my classes to get used to them a little bit faster. So this video is mostly made for my students who are taking Chem 221Z and Chem 227Z, or Chem 222Z and Chem 228Z, or Chem 223Z and Chem 229Z. The state of Oregon recently changed the way these classes are taught. They're separated out, different pieces. You don't have to worry about it. But I will say that if you're taking my class, for example, the Chem 221Z and Chem 227Z, I will refer to them collectively as Chem 221 to make it easier. And the same with the other classes. They'll be just Chem 222 and Chem 223. But don't worry about that. I'm glad to have you here, and let's see what this video has to offer. First of all, just welcome to the class. Chemistry is a very cool subject. I started as an undergraduate not thinking that chemistry was going to be my major, but I quickly became enamored with it, and I'm hoping to share some of that passion with you. A couple of important things. First of all, if you have questions on anything, I want you to email me right away. There are no dumb questions in my class. mike.russell@mhcc.edu is a great way to get in touch with me, and I encourage you to do so. Also, you can call me anything respectful just about. Dr. Russell, Dr. Michael, Professor Russell, Michael, Mike is fine, stuff like that. But please don't call me Mikey. 1970s commercials for Life cereal kind of freaked me out. It's a long story. If you can stay away from that, I would be very appreciative. But anyway, let's see again what this video is really going to give us here. All of my chemistry classes are taught in two flavors, if you will. One is called in-class and the other one is called hybrid. In-class is a traditional chemistry class that has both a lecture period and then a regular lab period. The hybrid students in hybrid sections only have the lab period. However, if you're in one of the hybrid sections and you wish to attend lecture, it's totally fine with me. All right, lectures can be kind of cool. Of course, I'm biased. I'm the one that's lecturing. But anyway, you're welcome to come if you want, and you can talk to me about it. We're not going to be using Blackboard or Canvas or MyMHCC this quarter. We're going to use our website. So for Chemistry 221, for example, it's mhchem.org/221. For Chemistry 222, you'd just take out the 221 and put the 222 in there, stuff like that. And most assignments will be due at the time of your lab. So if your lab is on a Wednesday at 1:10 p.m., that's when your assignments will generally be due. Assignments need to be submitted as a hard copy. Don't turn in a PDF form to me or anything like that, or don't email assignments to me. And all assignments can be observed in the What's Due This Week schedule, which is in the syllabus on the website and stuff like that. I'll share more about that here in a little bit with you. For this class, there are a couple things you need, but none of them should be super expensive. First of all, the textbook that we're using in this class is a free download. It's an OER, which means Open Education Resource class. It's totally free to download, and I encourage you to do it. So you can view it on your phones, you can view it on your computer, stuff like that. If you require a hard copy, you can purchase one for about $50. I don't generally recommend it, but it is something you can do if you think it would help. I do recommend that you purchase what I call the Chemistry Companion. It's Chemistry 221 Companion, Chemistry 222 Companion, etc., etc. Anyway, this will have all of the printed materials that you should need this quarter. It'll have all the problem sets, the labs, lots of sample quizzes and exams. Now, you can also download the Chemistry Companion from our website, but you will need to print off quite a few materials. At the very least, you'll need to print off the problem sets and the labs and perhaps more. So that's why I encourage you to purchase the Chemistry Companion. It's a one-time purchase. You can get it and you're good to go. Purchase it from the MHCC Bookstore online site. You'll need a scientific calculator, that dedicated calculator. You can't use cell phones and computers while taking quizzes and exams, so I encourage you to check it out. The TI-30X2S, with a little picture is shown right there, is a great calculator. It's like $10. It's crazy how cheap it is, but it has all the things that I look for as a chemist. It has the exponent or EE button for powers of 10. It has both base 10 logs and natural log buttons and the anti-logs. It'll have everything you need to get you all the way through Chemistry 223. So I do encourage you to have some kind of dedicated calculator. It doesn't have to be that calculator. If you have one from another class, just make sure you know how to use it. Safety glasses will be important for certain labs. I encourage you to get a pair. Ones from the dollar store are fantastic. If you attend lectures, you can get some extra credit by purchasing an iClicker student subscription. We'll talk about that during lecture. And once in a while, you will have to print an assignment, so you'll need access to the internet. If you have those kind of things, you are ready to go in this chemistry class. The lab, quote unquote, is actually split into two sections. When you look on your schedule, the schedule is just a mess. But anyway, there's basically a 4-hour block of time that you'll be required to be there. And generally what happens is the first 2 hours of this lab time are called recitation. And that's where we'll turn in assignments, take quizzes and exams. It's often in AC 2501, but that does vary. So anyway, check it out in the syllabus to make sure. The second 2 hours of this 4-hour block is what I officially called the laboratory. It's usually in room 2507, but this is when we'll actually do our experiments. And you need special equipment and safety procedures when you do a lab, so that's why it's a different room. Now, generally, lectures, if you have a lecture class, are Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 9 a.m. in AC 1303. And again, even if you are a hybrid student, you are welcome to come to this. It's totally fun. It's a big classroom. It's totally optional, so play it by ear, but you are welcome to be there if you'd like. So here are some thoughts about how to prepare for a normal week in this chemistry class. And again, you must adjust this to your own personal schedule. These are just some general ideas. I get asked a lot of times, like, how do I prepare for this class? Well, here's some thoughts. And again, adjust them to your own world as appropriate and what you need to do. So the first thing I would do is a few days before the lab, I would start definitely reviewing the lecture material for the upcoming problem set or exam, whatever you're doing. You can read the chapter, you can watch the complete lecture or screencast videos. You can do whatever you need to do, but start getting ready, get up to speed. And then you want to take the problem set, you want to do it yourself first, and then watch the problem set recitation video, self-correct your work along the way. So again, this is important. You need to have the problem set self-corrected before you come to the actual lab period. That's important. And then the time of the lab, whenever it is. So let's pretend that your lab is on a Wednesday at 1:10 p.m. in AC 2501. What you'll do is you'll turn in the lab we did the previous week in lab. So for example, the last Wednesday's lab. You'll also turn in the corrected problem set. The problem set will have, again, self-correct marks all over it after you watch the video. And the next thing we'll do is we'll take what's called the seminar quiz. Now, seminar quiz hopefully just gets your attention. I'll give you some time to work on it, and we'll talk about it. We'll self-correct our work before you actually turn it in. So seminar quizzes will be short. That kind of give you an introduction to the material we're looking at, making sure that you're kind of ready to rock and roll. You'll turn the seminar quiz in, and then you'll take the actual quiz over the problem set material, and also with some hints from the seminar quiz following that. Actual quizzes are always going to be about 30 minutes in length. They're show your work kind of questions. You'll have a calculator, you'll have a periodic table, but there won't be any notes allowed. It'll be a closed book test. And then after we do all that, we'll move next door to the lab room, probably 2507. You need a printed copy of the lab and lab goggles when we're ready for it, and you should be good to go. So again, on most weeks, what's going to happen is during your time of lab, first thing you'll do is you'll turn in the last week's lab, you'll turn in the already self-corrected problem set, we'll take the seminar quiz and self-correct that, so it should be easy points basically. And then you'll take the actual quiz, which has some actual questions you'll do. You won't get that back until the following week. And then finally, after all that part, we'll go to the next door lab room, probably 2507 for an actual lab. You do need a printed copy of the lab and lab goggles as needed. And again, all of this, you can see what's happening in the What's Due This Week schedule in the syllabus and online. I'll talk about that here in a little bit. And also remember, you can email me questions at any time if you have them. In this class, you must submit all assignments as printed copies, hard copies, all right? No emailed assignments, no PDF. I can check your work via email if you have a question on it, but if the final thing you turn in must be submitted as a hard copy unless you want a point deduction. And again, the companion has all the problem sets, study guides, and all that kind of stuff and labs that you'll need, so I encourage you to purchase it. On the Mount Hood Community College campus, you can print in room AC 1451, which which is on the lower level of the main campus. You can also print in the Avid Center, which is 3300. It's located above the library, and also in the Mount Hood Community College Library. So those are some places on campus you can print. Talk to them about how that works, but that's a place that you can print some materials. Every Friday, I will send you a list via email as to what's happening for you in your section the following week. So it kind of gives you a heads up as to what you'll need. So if you need to print something, make sure you print it before class actually starts and you will be good to go. So to figure out what is due and when it's due, I encourage you to check out what I call the What's Due This Week schedule. And one of the places it's listed is in the syllabus. And I'll give you a copy of the syllabus on the first day of class. Now, if you look there in the upper right-hand corner, that little screenshot, you can see that week 1, it's September 22nd through September 26th, and it's introducing the class, 8 bottles lab, blah, 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 which is probably what we'll do the first day of Chem 221. Now, you need to know what lab section you are to know what date applies to you. So if your lab is on a Monday, then that would be 9/22, September the 22nd. If your lab is on a Friday, then that would be the last date listed, September 26 or 9/26. And you're welcome to email me if you don't know what section you're in and what date applies to you. But those things that are listed there will be due at the time of your lab when you come to class. And again, we'll talk about all this, and you're welcome to email me too if you have any questions. There is a What's Due This Week schedule on our website, and it's listed right there, a little picture of it. The advantage of using the website version is there are links to the different materials, so you can click on it, print the materials as you need to. And then finally, every Friday, I'm going to be emailing you and people in your section a list specific to your section as to what's due in the following week. So there's a little version down there in the right-hand corner from one time I did this, and it lists the things for section 01 that are happening this week. And I'll tell you the date, so it should be good. So anyway, email me if you have any questions on this. I'm happy to, but I want you to know how to figure out when things are due, how to know when they're due, how to find them, things like that. If you buy the companion, you're good to go. But in the email and on the website, there's even links to it if you need to print them out as well. So it shouldn't be a big deal. In this class, there will be 6 problem sets, and the problem sets can be found on the website and in the companion. They are not in the textbook. And again, you will turn in a completed and self-graded problem set at the beginning of recitation when we meet for lab. So make sure that you look over the recitation video before you come to class, self-grade it, and you should be good to go. In the lower right-hand corner there is an example of a corrected problem set that someone turned in to me. And you can see how their work was in black, and then in red, they self-corrected their work. And this is kind of what I'm thinking for you too. Now, it's really important to me that every question has some kind of self-correct mark next to it. And this person, when they did their problem set, they used checks, which are great. You could also use the classic correct mark, the little C looking thing, or a star, or a smiley face. Anything like that is fantastic. So even the problems that are right, put some kind of symbol next to it so that I know that you know that the problem's right. On the other hand, if you miss a problem, so this person didn't do a very good job on their sig figs, for example, on questions 4 and 5, that's not a problem, all right? They put down the right answer. They made some notes as to what's going to be the way to do it better in the future. So these are the kind of things I look for. I want you to try things, and I encourage you to make mistakes, all right? It's okay to miss problems if you self-correct your work. So you can turn in a problem set, which is absolutely perfect, no problems, but if you don't self-correct, you won't get as many points. On the other hand, you can have a problem set where every problem was done wrong, but you self-corrected all the work like that person did in the example. You'll still get full credit. So I encourage you to make mistakes. When you get your problem set back, there will be a check plus, a check minus. Those refer to 10, 7, or 3 points, as you can see. Most of the time, check minus is just for late work, so that's not usually something, and most people do really well on this. But if you have questions, of course, let me know. All quizzes and exams will be taken in the recitation period. Seminar quizzes will be first. You'll take them, have some time to work on it, and then we'll self-correct the seminar quiz before turning it in. And then after that, we'll take an actual quiz that you'll do on your own, and then I'll return to you the following week. And all of these things, you can always have a periodic table and a calculator, but they are closed books, so no notes, no cell phones, no computers, stuff like that. The lowest actual quiz will be dropped at at the end of the term. So if you don't do as well on one of the quizzes as you were hoping, it's okay. All right, the lowest quiz will be dropped. Also, if you have to miss for some reason, then that will be your lowest quiz. It won't affect your grade. Exams will take the place of the problem set / seminar quiz / actual quiz combination. We'll do that. We'll talk about those more as we get closer to it. On the lower left-hand side there are some actual questions that you can see this person did. In the first part, they figured out the temperature on Titan in Celsius, all right, which is kind of cool. And the second part was like a density question. Again, show your work on quizzes, all quizzes, and most of the midterms as well. It's really important to me. If you just put the answer down, then I won't know how you did it, and it's not worth as much. There are sample quizzes and exams on the website and also in the companion. I encourage you to check them out. You'll get a better sense that way as to what I'm looking for. Labs are kind of the fun part of chemistry, or at least I think so in my biased world. All of the labs are on our website and in the companion. Some of the labs will require safety glasses. Definitely get them. You're going to need them. Labs will be performed in a separate room, usually AC 2507, and you'll have at least one lab partner, maybe two lab partners. Groups will never be bigger than 3, okay? But once in a while, you can have a group of 2, so 3 total, but it's best to have just one lab partner if possible. The lab you do this week will be due the following week in recitation. In the lower left-hand corner there, it shows an example of some of the problems from the density lab. And again, you can see how this person filled it out. They put the values down, calculated the density. Those are the kind of things I want to see. If you don't have your lab ready when it's due, labs are 1 point off if you turn it in by the end of the next day. So for example, if your lab normally meets on a Wednesday at 1:10 and you don't have it ready, you can turn it in by Thursday and it would be 1 point off, all right? And then Friday would be another point off, et cetera, et cetera. If you email me a lab, I will take it, but there'll be an additional point penalty for it being emailed, so just realize that. But it is important to get the labs in. If you get them all in, you get what's called the lab completion bonus at the end of the term. That can be the difference between getting a lower grade and a higher grade. So with those labs in, even if the labs are turned in late, you will still qualify for the lab completion bonus. Pretty important. Towards the end of the term, in this chemistry class, you will give what's called a class presentation. And a class presentation is an opportunity for you to really focus on a specific aspect of chemistry. So for example, in Chemistry 221, the topic will be elements. In Chemistry 222, the topic will be compounds. And in Chemistry 223, it will be a topic in science that interests you. So for example, let's pretend that this is Chemistry 221. You need to do a class presentation on an element, and the elements are all the pieces that are on the periodic table. So it'll give you the opportunity to really get in depth and figure out a lot of information on this element. You'll probably learn things about the element that I haven't heard before either, which is pretty cool. So during one of the weeks of the recitation, we won't have a regular lab and we won't have a problem set or a midterm, but the class presentations will be the one thing that we do. And every student will give a 5-minute talk on their element or whatever the topic happens to be, as well as turn in a paper which kind of reflects all the information gathered and presented in the presentation. So it's a pretty cool thing. It's kind of a good chance to have some public speaking. It's a good chance to kind of just see how you can really learn this material and also to share the information with the rest of us. So the steps of the class presentations are kind of as follows. First thing, you need to reserve a topic. So for example, if it's Chemistry 221 and its elements, you need to pick an element that no one else is going to present, because it would be really fun to see presentations on, say, chromium, which is one of my favorite elements, but that would get rather old after a while. So I want everybody to present on a different element. That way it makes it a little bit more interesting, stuff like that. So you need to reserve an element. For example, in Chemistry 221 with me, you can email me to do that. Give me a couple of possible alternatives in case the first one's taken. No big deal. Next thing you do is you start researching the topic that you're looking into, i.e. the element, and you want to create a rough draft paper on your class presentation topic. So for example, for elements, this would be at least 2 tight pages on your element. You'll also give me a peer-reviewed science article and abstract, so you know that this is still relevant to the world. And there's also a rough draft guide that you'll staple to the front as well. And then finally, again, towards the end of the term is when you'll actually give your class presentation. It'll be to your lab group. It won't be to the entire Chemistry 221 collective by any means, just to your lab group. And you'll give me your final paper at that time. It's pretty chill. You can learn more about this looking at the class presentations FAQ, frequently asked questions. It's on the syllabus and it's also online. And of course, you're welcome to email me as well if you have any questions. But it's kind of a fun thing. It doesn't feel that way sometimes getting up to it, but once you're done with it, you'll learn a lot of information on this element or this topic that you're presenting on. It'll stay with you for a long time. By the end of the second week of class, you'll be able to check your grades. You go to our website, mhchem.org/221, or whatever numbers you're appropriate for your world, and you can look under class resources and check your grades. And you'll see something like in the lower left-hand corner there. And right next to that kind of magnifying glass where it says MHCC ID, that's where you want to put in your Mount Hood Community College ID number and press the go button. And then your grades will pop out and you'll see what's happening. I usually update the grades every Friday afternoon. It might change on occasion, so just realize that. And if you have questions with this or have problems with it, let me know. It's no problem. So by the end of the second week, you will be able to check your grades and see what's happening at this point. If you ever need help during the term, I want you to know that you're not alone, okay? These are strange times, and I understand that completely, and I want you to have as good of an experience as at all possible. If it's something academic related, I do want to recommend highly the Tutoring Center at Mount Hood. Now, the Tutoring Center is formerly known as the Learning Success Center/Avid Center, LSC/Avid. All of these names mean the same thing. But anyway, this Tutoring Center, they're really cool. They have like students who have taken these classes before that are working up there. They can help you on problem set problems, and they can help you on lab questions or studying material, all kinds of stuff. And they'll meet with you in person and online. So it's very, very cool. Every year, the hours in chemistry that they have tutors will vary. Talk to them and see, or you can go to their website, which is mhcc.edu/LSC. Tutoring is free for you as an MHCC student. I highly recommend that you check that out. I will also have office hours every quarter. The office hours will change term to term, but they're always in person in my office, AC 2568. Come on by and say hi to me. Or if you can't make my office hours, email me. If you email me, I usually get back to you the same evening, especially if it's before 8 p.m. I'm happy to get your questions. And again, I like your questions, so you let me know. Email is definitely the best way to get a hold of me if you have any questions, or you can come by my office hours and see me. But talk to me. I'm happy to help you, and I may have some possibilities that you may not know existed. So talk to me if you have any questions. In this class, people always want to know how to do well, how to get an A, how to pass, this kind of thing. So here are some general ideas. And the number one thing that I tell people to do is you must commit the time, because I'm sure you, like me, have 100 other things going on. Like you've got family, or maybe you have a job, or maybe you have another class which is taking your requirement, or fill in the blank. There's so many different reasons. So you must carve out some time every day where you focus on chemistry. And even if it's only 15 minutes at the time, that's okay, because that's a start. So have some time just for chemistry. So you can focus on the lectures, you can work on your lab, you can start looking at the problem set or watch the video. All those kind of things are really cool. Another thing I recommend is that you take notes however you learn the material. So if you read the textbook, take notes. If you watch my complete lectures online, take notes, because when you listen and write, you remember things a lot better than if you just listen. So I do encourage you to take as many notes as you can. There's lots of different resources for learning this material. The textbook is definitely awesome. You can use my website, you can use my complete lectures or my smaller screencast lectures. Whatever you want to use are great. But whatever version you do, practice as many problems as you can, because the more problems you practice, it makes the material better in your mind, and it also makes you faster. And those are both really good things. So check that out. You can absolutely pass this class. All right, people have passed this many times in the past, and I want you to be part of that too. So I will help you if you have any questions. Just reach out to me. I'll see if I can help. You got this. Okay, so that's kind of it for this overall kind of view of how these chemistry classes work. I hope this has been helpful. I can't be very specific since it applies to so many classes, but maybe it gives you a better idea as to how this will all work. Email me if you have any questions anytime. I'm happy to answer your questions. It's mike.russell@mhcc.edu. But I'm really looking forward to a great term. I hope you'll join me as we go down this adventure. I wish you the best of all possible terms, and if there's anything I can do to help, please let me know. Okay, thanks for being here, and have a wonderful day.